and we're starting.
Yeah, Clemson this week.
Big game.
Yeah, big game. I'm not gonna lie. This week always scares me. I mean, I like to think that this year, history has been, not something that's, repeated itself this year for us. But I mean, it's a rivalry game. It's on the road. I mean, it's night. I mean, anything can happen. Stats are out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as long as Marcus Lattimore is on the field, I feel comfortable. So I'll just leave it at that for right now.
And it's no secret that we don't play well against Clemson. I mean, everybody knows they're beating us an all-time record. We hadn't beat them back-to-back in 40-something years. I mean, it's it's ridiculous. And I'm like you, this game always scares me just because I know we don't play very well against them. And I think years past they've always put more emphasis on this game than maybe we have. But we've got a lot of in-state players, and I think guys are starting to understand that this game is really important to the fans. I mean, you'll get a lot of people that will tell you they'd rather go 1-12 and beat Clemson than go 12-1 and lose to Clemson. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, it should be important to the players too. I mean, it's bragging rights. A lot of these guys know each other. They played ball together in high school. You've got a lot of families whose husbands pull for one team and wives pull for another. And it's an important game. I mean, it's good to win it. Luckily, we have another game after this one, so generally that's not the case. So, but I'm like you. I mean, we've got the better team on paper.
I think
so.
Yeah.
In a rivalry game, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Carolina-Clemson or Florida State or Georgia Tech or name any rivalry game, you can kind of throw that out the window. Because there's so much emotion running in this game. I mean, a lot of these guys were recruited by both schools. I mean, there's just so many different factors that go into this game that you can't just say that the better team always wins.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that is one thing I'll give. I mean, I don't like Clemson. I mean, it's a given. I'm a South Carolina fan. I don't like them. But, I mean, I'll give them credit where credit is due. They always, for the most part, they always play this game, a lot lot better than we do.
Quite frankly, they kick our butts. Just about every year. What can you say?
They just put it to us, and I can't say that I would be 100% confident going into this game. Don't get me wrong. I think, like you said, we have a better team on paper, and if you took the Carolina-Clemson names off the jerseys, I would go all in on South Carolina for this game. As long as Marcus Lattimore's on the field, in my mind, I think we've got the game in wraps. They talk about this Clemson defensive line. They've performed well all year. They have. They're not terrible. But they didn't really do it to us last year.
Right.
So, I think that they are a little bit better this year. But I think our line's a little bit better this year, too. And plus,
we've got a better running back. Obviously, everybody knows Daquan Bowers is good.
Yeah.
But, like I said, last year, they didn't stop Kenny Miles.
Yeah.
So I don't know what makes them think they're going to stop Lattimore unless they're going to be twisting ankles.
Yeah.
Our offensive line is much improved.
Yeah.
You're an idiot if you don't see that. So, I'm like you. They've got a good defensive line. Bowers is good, but we've upgraded in the same areas that they've upgraded. And then we've also upgraded in running game. And you're a fool if you don't think that Marcus Lattimore is the difference maker in this game because it's quite clear that when he runs good for Carolina, we win.
Yeah.
Whenever we don't get him involved early, Arkansas, he didn't carry the ball the first 3 plays of the game. I knew we was in trouble.
Yeah.
When he's not involved, we don't play well. So, and that's no secret. He's definitely the X factor in this game, considering it's at night on the road. I don't know if it's weather or what it happens to be, but we tend not to play that well in the cold weather. I don't know what the issue is. So he is the biggest key to this game.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing that you would say. In games where you feel like, it's going to be a shootout and you have to score, every possession, that's the games that we don't really perform well because we go away from our game plan of balance like the Arkansas game.
We feel like we get behind and we have to throw the ball all the time.
Daquan, he's a great player. He's, like you said, he's an in-state guy. But, one guy on the D-line can't do everything for you. I know the other guys y'all got on there are solid athletes as well. But, we've played some pretty solid teams. We've played, we didn't play well against Auburn, and they have, Fairley, and he's a very good defensive lineman also. But I think we kind of abandoned the run game early, and I don't think that's in Spurrier's game plan anymore. He has given up on giving up on the run.
Right.
You know.
I mean, and it's taken him 7 years and 8 games to kind of figure that out some. But I think he's finally understanding that our best chance to win is to give the ball Lattimore 30, 40 times, however many times you have to give it to him to win the game. And he might not like doing it, but hey, it gets you a win, and it's got us to the SEC championship game this year. So if you're a Clemson fan, I would expect to see a big dose of Marcus Lattimore, and I would be very surprised if he is not involved in the game plan early. So, but with that being said, like I said, it's a rivalry game. Clemson's not a bad team.
No,
I don't think they're a good team. They're obviously 6-5. They just got bowl eligible last week. They've got young receivers. You got to wonder where Kyle Parker's head is. If he's gonna give it his all, knowing he's got a couple mils sitting behind him, waiting on him in Colorado. Is he gonna be willing to go for that couple extra yards? If it might mean he takes a big hit or not. So I think there's all kinds of factors that go into this game. Clemson does have a little bit of the edge. They're playing at home. I've been to Death Valley, and it can get pretty loud in there sometimes. Especially this game, a rivalry game. It's at night. But I do think, and I am a little biased, but as Ryan Clary says, taking the fanhood away from it. If you look at the facts, Carolina's got the better team. Better receivers, better quarterback play, I would say. Better running backs. Ellington may or may not play for Clemson. They're saying that he might, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that. And then you go on defense. I think our defenses are about even. We tend to give up a few more big plays than they do. But I think they're better overall defensively, maybe just by a little. But like I say, you take a stat and throw it out the window because the past couple weeks our defense has played pretty much lights out. And so, overall I would give the edge to Carolina. I assume they're going to be keying on Alshon. Alshon and Lattimore are probably the two that they're going to be keying on. So I wouldn't surprise me to see Gurley get a couple big catches. Maybe Jason Barnes go up the middle, get some. Maybe A. Sanders on a reverse or something like that. Just try to get some speed outside to try to get them on their heels early in the game. Especially being on the road, that's important.
I mean, if you want to go head to head, I mean, their offensive line's probably better than ours. I could see that. I mean, our offensive line's better. I wouldn't say that they're a great unit by far.
They've got a pretty veteran offensive line. I mean, they've been around the stitches, and we've got some juniors. But overall, our offensive line is fairly young, and considering that we've got a first-year offensive line coach this year, I think they've done fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what they were last year,
last year was terrible.
They're a phenomenon. But I mean, they're still not. They're not a top-notch line. I mean, they're solid. I mean, they do enough to get by. I would take Garcia over Kyle Parker. I think y'all, I don't know, I'm not trying to be mean, but I think y'all got a little too excited about Kyle Parker. I don't think he's the NFL caliber quarterback. Wide receivers, I'm going to have to go with Carolina.
All right, if you don't, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, Clemson fans, you're stupid.
I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is amazing. I mean, y'all's guys, they're young. I mean, I think they could possibly come around maybe next year and be solid. I know y'all got a lot of good ones coming in. They'll probably see playing time early. So, I mean, y'all got good ones coming in. I just don't see it for y'all this year. Defensively, I think our defensive lines are probably a wash, maybe with Daquan being, the best lineman out of the group. But I think they're both very solid units.
I mean, Devin Taylor's been playing lights out this year. And then Cliff Matthews, obviously, is everybody knows him. I mean, he's playing good, so I would definitely agree. Defensive line is even.
The linebackers, so I haven't watched Clemson play much, but they don't, from what I've heard, Clemson's not very, I wouldn't say that their linebackers are bad, but I mean, it's not one of their strengths, and I kind of see that as that's how ours are too.
Right.
I think our D-line makes our linebackers a lot better.
Than what they probably are.
I would say talent-wise in the secondary, we're probably even. I know DeAndre McDaniel, he's a very, very good safety. I would say talent-wise they're even in the secondary, but y'all's performance on the field is a lot better, if that makes any sense. We have a lot of blown coverages and stuff like that. kicking game and kicking returns, I wouldn't even have to watch y'all to give y'all the edge in that.
I think we're averaging like 2 yards of punt return, something ridiculous like that.
But I mean, but kicking, I don't know. Lanning's been missing extra points. I don't know what's up with that, but he hits the field goals, so that's good.
And he's hitting long field goals too. I mean, you're talking 40-yarders, so
40 to 50. I mean, I would give us the edge in the kicking game. I mean, any time in the year when you have open tryouts for your kicking game, that's not good. That's not good. But I mean, it's a rivalry game. I think South Carolina will win. I don't think it's going to be, where after the first quarter, it's going to be, in the bag. I think it's going to be decided in the second half.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see this being one where, Clemson's at home and they maybe take an early 10-7 lead, something like that. But and obviously you look at the coaches. I mean, you got to give the edge to Spurrier. I mean, I expect him to outcoach Dabo.
Yeah.
And I could see it be something where third quarter we take the lead and then from there we kind of get on a little bit and maybe kind of open it up a little bit in the fourth quarter when they're behind, trying to throw some.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I mean, you break it down. They maybe have an edge here. We maybe have an edge there. But rivalry games don't really matter.
No.
And for Clemson, I mean, it can't be overlooked that they've had a pretty disappointing season by their standards.
Yeah.
So winning this game helps kind of salvage some of that. Now, obviously, it doesn't take away some of the bad losses and stuff like that. But winning this game, they can win, carried into the bowl game. Recruits, it's big for Clemson. So for Carolina fans and for the players to think that they don't really have anything to play for is kind of bogus.
Yeah.
And also for Carolina fans to think that just because we played in the SEC and we played Florida and Alabama and Auburn does not mean that we can walk in there and win because, hey, we played in the SEC since 1991 and we have had the best record against Clemson. So, but I think the players, if they're level-headed, they understand what needs to be done. They understand how important it is for the fans. I think Carolina's going to win this one.
I do too.
And we're pretty realistic. Obviously, we're biased, but I do think Carolina's going to win.
I do too. According to Ryan Clary, though, everyone, if you've watched our videos, I don't really like him, but he said this game's kind of meaningless to both. I wouldn't say meaningless, but he said it's not important. He thinks the important game is Clemson's bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if Clemson loses this game and they're 6-6, they're bowl eligible. They're not automatically going to a bowl.
Right.
I mean, this game's very important to them. I mean, they'll still probably go as a 6-6, but I mean, the game is still important.
And it's important for us because you don't want to take a loss into the Auburn game. I mean, so it's important for both teams. And it's a rivalry game. I mean, it's bragging rights.
Yeah.
I mean, Columbia and Clemson are 150 miles away from each other. So, I mean, you see Clemson fans all the time. Got some of my family. And it's important.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the game, it means a lot. I don't care what side you're on, what your record is. The game means a lot. I mean, winning's winning. I mean, every game means something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't, and especially at the end of the year where it means more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a one-loss team, from the beginning of the year has a chance to climb back up.
Right.
But right now,
if you do it late, they're going to knock you off.
The later you lose, I mean, the worse it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, take it one year, LSU, they lost in the SEC championship game, and they dropped them all the way down to the Peach Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
The Peach Bowl, and that was the West Division champion. And then they beat Miami 40-something to 3 or something like that. I mean, it was just unreal. I mean, they punish you in bowls if you lose. I mean, you drop.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose at the end of the year, they punish you. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. I mean, it's not fair, but that's just how it is, and that's how I've always viewed the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go out on a strong note.
And people remember what you do most recently.
Yeah. I mean, you're only as good as your last game, And I hope that's how it is because I would much rather have, that team that put up 69 points last week.
Right.
And
the team that showed up against Auburn. Arkansas. So.
I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. I don't really care for Death Valley. It's just, I don't know, I guess. I mean, the stadium, the upper deck's really steep and all that stuff. But I don't really even know where I'm sitting right now because I think I'm going with my brother's friends, or I don't know. But I think it's going to be a good game. I'm glad I'm going. I don't think I've been to Death Valley 2 or 3 times, and I don't think we've won with me ever being there. So I'm hoping this will be a first for me.
Hopefully you're not the jinx.
Yeah, I know. Well, 3 times is the charm for me in
for
Florida.
so
I think this is the third time it's at least the third time that I can remember. So,
but it's on TV,
Yeah,
ESPN 2, 7
Um,
o'clock. Watch it. It's a good game, even if you don't pull for one of the two teams. If you're a Oklahoma fan, if you watch this, I mean, it's a fun game to watch. We have a lot of in-state recruits there, so it's big for that too. So it should be fun, but I think we both agree that Carolina probably has a slight edge and should win. So as long as they do that, and because we have a game next week, this won't be our last video.
No.
So you get to see our lovely faces another week.
I know, right?
We'll see you then. Watch the game.
Go Cox.
Go Cox!
Yay, Gamecocks.